Welcome to a new week, everyone. Amy Annell here with you again, and I'm really looking forward to this week where we talk about trust. Last week we addressed doubt in its many forms, and now I'm happy to be turning to the opposite of doubt, which is trust or faith. I want to look again at the verse that we talked about last week in the Bible, Jeremiah 32:27, where we read, "Behold, I am the Lord, the God of all flesh. Is anything too hard for me?" I asked this question last week, and I'm asking it again. Is anything too hard for God? Well, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Job, but he's a guy in the Bible that many are familiar with. So if you aren't, here we go. Job came to the conclusion that no, nothing is too hard for God. In the opening verses of the last chapter of Job, we see, "Then Job answered the Lord and said, I know that you can do all things, and that no purpose of yours can be thwarted." And over the course of this kind of large book, it's 42 chapters. First, we're introduced to Job as a wealthy man. I mean, he's been abundantly blessed by God because he lives a blameless and upright life. He fears and honors God, and he has more wealth than anybody else around. And he's been blessed with 10 children. Well, Satan tells God that Job only honors him because God has protected him and granted him wealth. If God took it all away, Satan insists that Job would curse God to his face. God lets Satan take away all of Job's wealth. In one literal wipe-out move, every single thing that Job owns is stolen by enemies. His servants get slaughtered. His fields get burned. And to top it all off, while all of that is happening in one just all at the same time, his 10 children are all having a party together in one house. A tornado comes and blows the house down and kills all of his children. Well, Job did react with grief, but he fell on his face and cried out to God. Like Job 1:20-22, it says, "Then Job arose and tore his robe and shaved his head and fell on the ground and worshipped. And he said, Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." In all this, Job did not sin or charge God with wrong. Well, Job meets with other calamities through this story we hear, including he has some well-meaning but misguided friends who came to chastise him for the sins he surely must have committed to deserve such treatment. Even Job's wife tells him, "Give it up, curse God and die," as her husband sat scraping pus from the boils that covered his body after Satan had had another go at him. Because God had said, "You can't kill him." Okay, you can't kill him. So Satan just afflicted his body with, he was covered, and we won't get into that. That's not where I'm going today. But back to that last little verse, the piece of the verse we read. It says, in all this, Job did not sin or charge God with wrong. He does have some questions for God, so he asks them. And in my mind, all of these questions are what any sane person would think were perfectly normal things to want to know, considering these stunning circumstances he finds himself in. God sees something else, though, and he responds with a massive list of rhetorical questions, all uttered to teach Job exactly who God is. Job ends up completely humbled. And he replies with the verse we looked at already. Then Job answered the Lord and said, I know that you can do all things, and that no purpose of yours can be thwarted. Okay, so here's a man who had every reason, more than any other person to ever live, possibly. He had every reason to doubt God. He had every reason to curse God. And he does not. He lost everything, even his children. His friends are there to berate him. His wife stayed with him, but her faith crumbled. And after all that, God brought him a searing lesson in pride and humility. But Job still trusted God. From the first to the last, Job had faith. God rewarded that faith. He restored Job's fortunes. He gave him twice as much as before, and he even had 10 more children. Now, obviously, I am not Job. You are not Job. But we can take notes from his life and work to trust like Job did. Trust. The dictionary defines trust this way. A. Assured reliance on the character, ability, strength, or truth of someone or something. B. One in which confidence is placed. Can we rely on the character of God? He is consistent, and He's eternal, and He does not lie. God's ability and strength aren't even in question. I mean, there's countless examples in the Bible of both of those. Truth? Jesus declared Himself to be the truth in John 14:6. And Jesus said to him, I am the way, and the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Proverbs 3:5 and 6, we see that's a familiar verse to many. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make straight your paths. Verse 26 of chapter 3 says, For the Lord will be your confidence, and will keep your foot from being caught. In Psalm 37, in verses 3 through 5, we get an even more incentive to trust God. Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and befriend faithfulness. Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust in Him, and He will act. In just those two places in Scripture, we see God's urging, which occurs many times through the Bible. If we trust Him, He will guide our steps through life. If we trust Him, He will act. He will give discernment. It's easy to doubt. Trust comes hard. Human nature is not to default to trust. And we look back at Job, how many of us would hold fast to trusting God as our lives shattered around us so catastrophically? Over the years of history, Job's wife has taken a lot of heat for her one-line part in the whole account. But I view her with an abundance of compassion. This woman, she birthed 10 children for her husband. She raised them with him to adulthood. She was by his side for decades. And when Job's life blew apart, her life blew apart. When he lost everything, absolutely everything, so did his wife. For lack of a better name, I'm going to call her Mrs. Job, okay? Mrs. Job lost her 10 children at one time. That alone, that would buckle the fortitude of any woman. Never mind the rest of her life exploding around her. We don't even hear her say anything during that entire time. And it isn't until Job's health is precarious and miserable that she cries out to him. Just, you know what, just give up. And actually, when you look at this, the word that is translated curse in most of our translations is the word barak, which is translated as bless in most situations and is occasionally used as curse. So she could be just saying, you know what, Job, it's okay. Just preserve your integrity, persist in your integrity, just bless God and die. But somehow she's gotten this bad rap, okay? Like, did Mrs. Job trust? Well, we don't know. We don't know if she'd had trust up until that point because the Bible doesn't say. Obviously, it sounds like her faith was shaken and it was in tatters, I mean, when she spoke her only recorded words. I don't think God dismissed Mrs. Job. It doesn't say anywhere that Job was given a new wife for the rest of his doubly blessed years. Or it doesn't say he was given a new wife for those new 10 children. So Mrs. Job had 10 more children. Which, side note here, ouch, I have a lot of children myself. Like, I have a lot of children myself. And the thought of starting again for a full repeat is rather daunting, like physically speaking. And Mrs. Job was with her husband when he lived out those last blessed years of his life. I don't know for sure, but I think God honored her faithfulness to her husband. In heaven, I have a lot I'd like to talk to her about. I mean, like, what kind of lessons in trust did she come away with in that experience? That'd be really something I would love to know. Now, tomorrow, we'll continue talking about trust. We're going to look at a few more examples of people who both doubted and trusted God, and how we can use those lessons in our lives now. Talk to me in the comments. Let me know if you have any examples of when trust in God made all the difference. If you have a prayer request, share it. I'd love to pray for you. I'll see you here again tomorrow.